Hey Kirk, Pastor Ben here with you with an update for you and a few things for you to look at. First, I want to share some exciting news with you. Just last night, the session met over Zoom and approved a proposal to reopen our building for worship on June 28th. What a bizarre season this has been, and I know we're all itching to get back together. Some of you will be ready to actually do so before others, but after consulting with our medical advisory team and weighing really dozens of different factors, we've decided June 28th is our moment. So let me give you just a few examples of the many dynamics that we have in mind. First of all, as you know, we decided early on we wanted to lag behind the initial wave of openings just a little bit to help the full community stand the best chance of avoiding a resurgence of COVID cases. By June 28th, we'll be 5 weeks out from the beginning of the county-wide reopening, and we'll be in a very good, a confident place to read whether or not there has been a dangerous uptick in the spread of the disease. Something else, something you may not realize, several of our staff members or their family either have pre-existing conditions or they're caring for people who do, and as we reopen, we're going to need them to be involved in various ways. But we haven't wanted to press them into situations with larger groups prematurely. So that's part of what we're thinking. Another thing, as we reopen the doors, there's a concern that we'll begin to feel like there's a primary congregation who's coming in person and then a secondary congregation who's remaining online. I think one of the sweetest things about this quarantine season at the Kirk has been that even though we couldn't see each other on Sunday mornings, we all knew we were in the same boat. We were all participating in the same way at the same time. And as we begin to transition, we don't want anybody to feel left behind. We fully understand some of you will continue to rely on the live stream for weeks or even months to come after we reopen. And you'll be no less important to us or less top of mind to us than those who show up to the building. So that's one of the reasons we've been a little slow. But fourth, we have just begun to format our AV system for the long haul, for the ability to maintain a level of excellence on our live stream while receiving people in the sanctuary without having distracting equipment all over. And we need a few more weeks to work out those kinks. So that's just a few factors. Now remember, as we start back up, things are going to be somewhat different, at least for a little while. So before June 28th gets here, I'm going to send out another video walking you through the standards we will likely be asking you to abide by, at least for the first few weeks. So watch for that. That'll be coming. Now, I'll also say this. I realize there are a lot of feelings being felt about this whole reopening question in society in general, and how you feel is usually connected to the primary lens you're looking at all of this through. Some of you see it first and foremost through a lens of personal safety, others through a lens of constitutional rights, others through a financial lens, others through the powerful instincts of being an introvert or an extrovert, still others through whatever media outlet you tend to favor. It makes sense that we would have a diverse set of reactions. There's no shame in having these various viewpoints. But I have included an article called Navigating Different COVID-19 Convictions. And I think it'll help us all. I'm going to ask everyone to take a few minutes to read it, especially if you're really feeling those feelings. And by the way, that's what we're going to be talking about this summer in the sermon series. We're going to be in the Psalms and talking about the moods that are expressed in the Psalms. And I'm really looking forward to sitting at the foot of God's Word and learning together on that. I know I have plenty to learn there. Another item for you. We're sending you a survey. This survey has two purposes. First, it's designed to help you meditate a little on what your experience has been over the last 3 months. I have a feeling this pandemic has made its mark on each of us in ways that we might not completely understand yet. And so we want to help you contemplate what this has been like for you, how to process how you're doing right now. So use those questions as an opportunity to reflect. The second purpose is to get a little feedback on when you think you'll be ready to come back to church, just so we can do some rough planning. And also to get some feedback on whether you'd like to participate in our Suppers for Seven program that we're putting together this summer. So please go ahead, click on that survey link in the next 2 or 3 days, fill it out. You can give us your name or take it anonymously. That's up to you. Now, final thing, let me change gears and mention one more thing, and this is important. All week, I have been thinking about what to say to you about the civil unrest we've seen unfolding in cities across the country, actually across the whole globe, in the wake of multiple recent events that have left particularly black men and women lying lifeless. And I've been listening not only to media coverage, but also to other pastors, black friends in our presbytery and the broader church. I've been wrestling and praying because I don't want to release a statement that would come across as generic or as tone deaf. And I don't want to carelessly inflame our church community. And I also don't want to look away in silence when fellow believers are grieving en masse and they're watching and hoping to hear white pastors acknowledge the pain that they're feeling. Now, along the way, I came across a video that a fellow PCA pastor, Scott Sauls, offered to his congregation earlier this week. Scott's a Covenant Seminary graduate. He planted a church here in St. Louis called Riverside. He's now the pastor of Christ Presbyterian in Nashville, Tennessee, where our own Wilson Benton had ministered for several years after leaving the Kirk. I got to tell you, I really respect Scott's voice. He's written some wonderful books. I consider him a mentor and a friend. He was one of several leaders I actually consulted with when I started as senior pastor here at the Kirk. And in this moment, I think Scott captures pretty much precisely the message, the tone that I want to portray to you right now. In fact, he said it so well that I'm simply sending you the link to his video and telling you, yes, this is basically where I stand. Consider this my message to you. Now, the video is several days old at this point, and he makes a few remarks that are specific to his church along the way. That's okay, just kind of brush that aside because the meat of the message is worth it. And I want to be clear, I'm not trying to outsource this job. I'm not trying to distance myself from responsibility for the words. I would be happy to talk with anyone who cares to dialogue further. And we'll be continuing this conversation as a church. It's ongoing. But right now, I'm just thankful to Scott. And I think you would be best served if I didn't try to improve on what he said. So please take the time to listen to it. I believe his pastoral words will edify you. I believe we must always continue to look to Jesus as we try to answer the sins that torment our country with the power of gospel love. Thanks for listening, folks. I can't wait to be with you for our live stream service this Sunday morning. We'll begin our new sermon series on the Psalms. And don't forget, we're taking the Lord's Supper, so get your supplies ready. Until then, I love you all. Have a great weekend.